Oh shit, not good.
Now again, I am going to try to say this in the nicest way possible. There are tons of PvE content creators who do not know PvP tactics, mechanics, things of that nature when they suggest that certain things are going to be better or more damaging for your build, and they're basing this off of like damage numbers, statistics, and all PvE content, but nothing PvP. That is why when I make a video, whenever I make a build video of some sort, I put it to the test in PvE and PvP, and I try to give you guys the best damages for both possible scenarios.
Later, in the void.
Now, if some of y'all are confused, that's very easy. I can explain it right here. Now, as you see, I have an eagle bearer, and Kwame here is going to drop a decoy. Now, as a player in PvP wants to get stacks for this, all they have to do is shoot a decoy. It's that simple. Once you shoot that, it's going to give you the stacks. Also, by using the decoy and standing behind it, it's going to auto-target onto the decoy more than it's going to target onto the player. You have to take your aim off and aim back on. So a lot of players forget this easy mechanic to avoid some damages, because when you're aimed at a player, it's going to auto lock on. 9 times out of 10 you're going to shoot body shots, especially even with the eagle bearer versus trying to hit the head. So as you see, we get 1% on the body and 5% on the headshots. This is standard on the weapon. It actually says this, but the decoy gives you 5 for just shooting the decoy and 1 for actually shooting the decoy itself that's on the ground. But you see right here, there you go, there's 5, there's another 5, and so on and so on. Now this is just shooting the decoy, but if I shoot this decoy, like I said, down here, we only get 1%. So again, this is how you can get stacks without having to worry about the headshot, because a lot of people have suggested, especially with the new update, that the headshot damage is going to be better for the eagle bearer when you don't have to hit it. Now also, players like Kwame and other ones, they like to do what we call chicken dance. So they're going to move around, so it's going to be a little harder for players to land said headshots. When all we have to do is, like he's doing right here, just moving and everything else, just shoot body shots. You will still get the more damage, but because that headshot is wasted if you're not landing headshots, and you can easily kill a player by when he's on the ground and killing him afterwards to get the proc, makes it better to have damage to targets out of cover.
Meanwhile, back in the lowlands.
Now, I was raised with a question by a few other people, and they asked me this about the Scorpio, so we're going to basically take on this typical DPS build. We're going to try this out to show something, because some people want to know with this new update, would certain weapons that don't have certain third attributes, would it make it better? Now, how we're going to prove this is we have one piece of Seska and has pro and critical hit damage. We're trying to mimic this mask right here, the Y'all Gear health damage. We're not trying to get too much more. We just have crit chance and not getting an extra crit chance. It has hazard protection for the first piece, so that's why we have hazard protection right here. So we're only going to have probably, you know, about 10% more crit chance. Nothing more, nothing major, but we want to see what the health damage is in this specific spot. So we put everything in different spots for this, because some people ask the question, does the poison, does disorientate, do these actually gain any kind of bonus for damage to health? Because there are some YouTubers who are PvE players who made suggestions for builds that having max health damage, max damage to armor, and max damage to targets out of cover is the best PvP build out there, which they're wrong. But people want to know, does these bleed and all these other ones also take effect from this? Because I've scoured through here and no one, I mean this, has actually said if these do any type of damage. So when we are able to trade out this critical hit damage on the bottom, would you want damage to health? Would you want damage to targets out of cover? So this is where the biggest question is as well, because a capacitor, while this is damage to health, we can prove that damage to health only works for like chongas, dogs, and typically players' skills and things of that nature, versus having damage to targets out of cover like that into these spots, especially even the chameleon, where you can drop the crit chance off and actually get more damage out this way. Would it be more beneficial? Now, we know this to be true because even if it's, say, 9.5% on the bottom like the capacitor, if we put damage targets out of cover right here, it's going to be 10%. Same with the Eagle Bear. We have all this crit chance and critical damage already on the weapon, so we don't need to worry about anything else. But dropping that headshot damage to get more damage out, like damage targets out of cover, is going to be more beneficial. Even the backfire right here, you would get more damage by taking off the magazine size and getting more damage to targets out of cover. Lady of Death, I can also show later on, and I'm going to hold that onto a different video, how damage to targets out of cover actually boosts that one as well. Now, same with the Chatterbox. This one is basically, right now, almost the same damage as Ouroboros, and when you get near 5 enemies, you can actually stack it to have the same RPM, nearly, or close enough to it, and you can actually, if you spec into expertise, it's going to be even stronger than the Chatterbox. Plus, if you get a kill, you get to refill your mag. It's like a Bullet King on steroids. That's going to be awesome. As speaking of Bullet King, even this one right here, while it has critical hit damage, you may want to put crit chance. You may want to put damage to armor on there. You may not want to do damage to health unless you're using against very specific Chongas. The only sniper that we know, the Nemesis, which has crit chance, and sometimes it's good to have that crit chance, having damage targets out of cover is going to boost that damage up even more. Same with this one, because you really can't land headshots too easily. Even though you're going to be able to crit, having damage to targets out of cover there is going to be more beneficial. Same with the Merciless. So basically all of these are going to benefit from being able to change the bottom attribute. Now, what the player is going to choose versus what is actually going to be better, that's going to be on you. Truly, it really will. The only one I have a question for is the pistols, because the pistols only have 2, even though that bottom right there that says attribute technically is a 3rd attribute because they only have the 1 for the weapon damage. Would those actually change like this? Because you can see it says attribute right here. Those are core attributes versus attributes. So will the pistols be able to be changed? We don't know, but we'll find out later. So now that we got all that out of the way, we have this setup still, as you can see right here. We have the Seska on. We will be changing this out. No extra mods, no nothing else. And we're going to do it right here for you. As you can see, we have the health damage later. So as you see, we're hitting for 34508. So this is the biggest question I've been asked, because we'll be able to change these. Would that status, that very specific status, change against them if it's health? So there's a red target, as you see, 34508. No, it does not for the crit chance. So now we're going to throw on the health damage. Will it change? We will find out right now. It's not going to change anything right here either. 34508. And that's on a red. He's got health. So again, if you don't believe it, it's an easy way to test. We can go to an invulnerable one with armor, see if it stacks up even more. Nothing there. 34508. So again, that's the change. So in this spot, you would want damage to targets out of cover, because that's going to allow you to get the more damage per bullet. So health damage really doesn't mean anything unless you're fighting a Chonga, a dog, or something like that in PvE. Now PvP, like I said, different mechanics. That damage to health is going to be fucking nothing. It's not even worth it. So if you want something that's going to work for PvE and PvP, if it has damage to armor on there, you're going to put damage to targets out of cover on the bottom. If you already have damage targets out of cover, just like on the top, you want damage to armor on the bottom, especially for weapons like the Iron Lung, because that damaged armor is going to keep that status, that burn status, even higher, because damaged armor works that way. Same thing with the Pestilence. You're not going to want to change that unless you're shooting very specific targets. So this is where damage to health is actually fucking worthless. It is literally worthless in this game unless you're using it on very specific bosses and scenarios. That is why damage to armor, damage targets out of cover will always reign supreme, especially even the capacitor will benefit because the bullet's damage will go up no matter what you use it for, whether it be PvE or PvP, and or if you're just using it just on any kind of target, period. Whether it be Chongas, whether it be dogs, whether it be just regular named NPCs, anything. You're going to get the better damage, period, at the end of the day. But this part right here is how little hope I have for this game right now. I have a weapon, an SMG. I have the talent right here in my library. If I go to my SMG right now, if I were to select this, I come down here, show me where it's at to roll onto this weapon. This has still not been fixed. This has still not been patched. Unless you get the weapon to already have it on there, this is not here to roll onto. This is how much little faith I have in this game anymore.